Welcome to Exploring the Ozarks, where we tell the history and stories of locations, places, and people that make up the area. Here's Matt, who is busy writing. He's not acknowledging the adoration of the crowd.
I'm always trying to take notes.
He is.
But
it's like that's what before and after time is for.
Well, yeah, but I just start thinking about stuff as soon as we
You're
get going.
You're too busy having fun with the
The
guests.
age.
I am, and my new toy.
Everything
I'm trying
down.
to figure out the right spot. I try to be because I don't want
I'm
to forget
pretty sure
something.
at this point I just need to move this over to here or something.
Yeah,
it looks really nice, but it's a little bit close for where it's at.
Toys are fun.
It has a really long reach. So
it does actually. So you can put it all the way over there, and it would still reach.
We should just have Kathryn have this thing, and we'll give you the little
trade.
stand.
That's right.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Graham. This is Mr. David Carr, producer extraordinaire, owner of Springfield Studio One, which is where we are today, which we forgot to talk about on the last one.
That's
but
all right.
If you want to film a podcast, if you want to do a podcast, if you want to film anything at this point, A&E's been here a few times to film what they do here with some documentary work. He's also got a full-on stage, and we're going to talk more about that today, hopefully a little bit.
Yes, because one of the things we do is screen movies.
Boom.
What?
Yeah.
Took the
I know. You all are so surprised about that.
That's crazy.
It's new information.
Well, in that case...
I'm so glad we came.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
But Springfield Improv performs off there,
right.
too. And
There
then
you
we
go.
also
You're welcome.
do... We had some plays coming up, but those had to be moved back. So,
That's okay.
But plays and, music and all those fun
Yeah,
things.
it's a full-on stage.
It's
It's
a
a
big
full-on
stage.
theater, pretty much.
Concession stands,
and it's
all the audio.
Right here. He's
I
got
saw- very
Chobani
cozy.
in there, too.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's very cozy. And he has Chobani.
I do. I do. It's not for you, though.
Dang it. I saw that. Anyways, you are watching Exploring the Ozarks, and today we've got a super special duo here with Footsteps researchers, but ultimately we're here to talk about REVEILLE, if you can read their shirts.
This is part 3 in our series with Kathryn.
Yes, it is. This is the culmination of a super cool, locally filmed movie
She
production.
had so many things going on, we couldn't fit into one episode.
I know, right?
No, but they all flew by so fast.
I know.
So
I mean, it was so much I had to bring Myra. So
I know, and I'm
That's
so glad
serious.
you did, because we have this dynamic duo I keep talking about. They're super hilarious, and I can only imagine being in a car with you guys driving around all 50 states for this, the quilt project.
She
or
wasn't
whatnot,
in the
but-
car. She came and got me later.
Oh, that's true. You guys had to stop and thank each other for all of this, and
That's right.
be wonderful on the road. But otherwise, we have Myra Miller, who is the president of Footsteps Researchers. We want to call you that, CEO,
Owner.
owner. There we
Presidente.
go.
Founder.
There we go. Owner, founder, and then
I can be the president.
we'll call you that, I guess. I mean,
Don't,
From now
Matt, don't
on,
encourage
it's
her.
Her Highness.
Please.
It's Her Highness or Her
Catherine,
Majesty.
please come over here. No.
Sit behind me.
she needs a coffee run, I think. but then we also have the fabulous Miss Kathryn Vicat.
Thank you
here as
so
well.
much. So glad to be back.
I'll call you President number 2.
Yes.
And they are here with Footsteps Researchers, ultimately REVEILLE, and we're going to talk about all of that stuff here in a few minutes. But David, first hit him with some Patreon. Real quick.
Patreon, give us money. Thank you.
Pretty much.
So if you
Well
go
said.
to Patreon,
You are a poet.
Thank you. I actually have written haikus recently. It's a
Haikus
lot of fun.
recently.
I can't come up with one off the top of my head.
Please don't.
I'm going to now for Patreon and just do Patreon haikus from now on.
It's not a bad shtick, man.
Anyway, Patreon's really easy to get into and use. You get a lot of, if you're on Patreon, you get access to early content from us and some unique stuff. You get to interact with us a bit more. But it's a great way if you aren't a business, you don't want to give us $300-$400 a month, though if you want to, please do.
It'd be great.
If you want to give $5, $10, $25 increments, you get rewards out of it. You get some things, awesome things out of it. But more importantly, you get to support us on our mission to keep exploring the Ozarks.
Right.
So we
'Cause
can
we
have
don't-
guests on.
very
We
good
can
cost.
go
Yeah,
out.
we don't
and-
charge anybody for this, but the content you're getting is pretty damn good.
Yes.
and it takes
so-
time.
Is that me?
To
Yeah,
do.
yeah. You're
Okay.
the content. You're
You
the
are
It
content.
takes time to edit it and put it together
Yeah.
and get all
I am-
the
I
right
am
things
valuable.
And do it in the first place.
You are.
You are. You're the president.
At least in your own mind.
But we've got some really cool stuff that's coming out, and this series that we've put together for you guys is sort of a culmination for me too. I'll just go ahead and go with it.
So excited.
Footsteps Researchers is something you might not have heard of unless you've heard me talk about it about 500 times. check it out. Where can they find you guys for Footsteps Researchers?
Footstepsresearchers.com.
Perfect. Didn't know if it was .org, whatever, but footstepsresearchers.com. So the first time you were here, we talked about my grandpa, who was a Navy diver, and he was a underwater welder, actually. So when Pearl Harbor happened, he got stationed in Alaska, and they would send the limping, bunch of vehicles and ships that actually made it out of Pearl Harbor were sent to Alaska, because that's kind of where everybody went to hide from everybody at that time. And so my grandpa was one that would go underwater and would weld these ships back together before they'd send them out to the fleet. And all I did was mention it. And it was World War II. And
I
that's
can't help it.
You guys specify World War II stuff. And while we're sitting here talking, I see her doing research already. And then I don't know what, maybe 6-7 days later, or maybe 2 or 3 days later.
I think it was because I went to the archives shortly after.
Immediately sends me this negative of a figure that looked just like my grandpa. And she's like, "Is this him?" And I was like, "From what I can tell, that looks a lot like him."
Because it was just a negative.
It was just this little itty bitty negative, and then she, comes walking in today with pictures of my grandpa of certain different times in the military. You can kind of see how he gets older.
It is not a mugshot.
Did you send his file to him?
I've tried.
She's got it.
Yeah.
We talked about it right before.
Yeah, I showed him this summer. 87 pages in
I
that
don't know
file.
if I look like my grandpa at all, but
oh yeah,
he was much skinnier because he went to boot camp and was in
He
the
looks like
military.
you.
Well, he did physical labor all the time.
Or you look like him.
A lot.
yeah, you'd look like him.
Yeah. And I smile a little bit more than he does. But
That's a size chart, and anybody in the Navy or the Marines got their pictures against a size chart like that. And
Makes
they're
sense.
called a Navy brick.
Yeah.
There you go. So these ladies know exactly what they're looking for when they go to do this. So number one, I want to talk about, Footsteps Researchers as the device that you use to be able to come up with this terrific movie that we're all going to be seeing soon called REVEILLE. But how it all ties together. But this is essentially what you guys do, at the heart of what you guys do, essentially, right? So when you guys think about someone you've had in your family or an extension of your family, someone you loved and you knew that they were in World War II, these are the people that can connect you to the story of that person that you love, right? Loved my grandpa very much, even though he used to yell at me to take my hat off indoors and not run all the time and all that. But it was a military guy, right? So, but loved him, and it also, my uncle was in Vietnam and things like that. So
And you'd never seen a picture of your younger grandpa,
no,
did you?
never have.
Yeah,
Never have
so-
seen this type of stuff ever. And that's what's really cool, because he's not around anymore, right? And I recently lost my uncle to Agent Orange. And I don't know how many he'd ever seen either. So I can't wait to show all my cousins, because I've got like 30 of them out in Georgia. So I can't wait for everybody to get to see this stuff. My mom's she doesn't even know we are doing this.
She didn't know that we did that,
So
huh?
I'm going to have to show her all this pretty quick, but
Yeah.
so she doesn't just find out on Facebook. But this is what you guys get hired to do, to follow people. You literally, I'll let you tell the story, okay?
The difference is, I've had people say, "Oh, did you get that on the internet?" Well, no, we go to the archives. Where are the archives? Well, there's one in St. Louis, and it has the World War II. It has World War I and World War II, but we focus so much on World War II.
Right.
And then there's also an archives in College Park, Maryland, that has the unit records, the after-action reports, the general orders from World War II. Wow. In St. Louis, it's the personnel records, or the IDPFs, which are the individual deceased persons file. If you died of wounds or killed in action while in service, there's a file for you.
Wow. Well, because Jefferson Barracks is,
Right.
Is it the largest
Well,
military cemetery? Or second largest?
Second after Arlington.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
where my grandpa's and my grandma actually both are buried there. And it's you can get lost in that place. It is
But we
massive.
go, and it's not as easy as it might sound. Oh, let's just go to the archives and let's go find your stuff.
Right.
Oh,
First
no.
of all, you have to make an appointment, and then
Be trained.
You have to be trained, and then you have to be able to work the microfilm machines that are like 500 years old.
Before you have to get the codes to find the page, to find the
yes.
number that,
Yes.
And then sift through all of those microfilms.
Yes.
Yeah, then you have to find the right number that correlates. Yes.
And then you have to go get the reel that matches the code that you found through the other reels that
By
you
month,
have to
by-
search.
yeah.
Yes. So,
Oh my God.
So,
This isn't just Googling things.
No, it's not.
No.
I just now imagine you like battling off evil like archivists as well at the same
But
time.
it was funny. I was there yesterday, and I saw this man come in, he didn't know anything, and he was trying to find his grandpa. When you try to do it on your own,
Oh man.
he was so frustrated. He didn't know how to thread the machine, and so that's why we come in and play, because we know how to do this.
So you gave him your card.
I did.
After you showed
the
him.
poor guy was so frustrated, and it was so hard, and he had no clue what he was doing.
Hard to watch, I'm
and
sure,
it was hard to
yeah.
watch. And I'm like, I tried to help. I'm like, here, let me help you.
Right.
And but yeah, there's only 10 machines, so like yesterday it was all full, but
Wow.
some days, and then
But there's that many people that are researching their own families too.
yeah,
then,
but
you know.
it's really there's several of us. Well, not several. There's a couple of us that make it a business to do.
Yeah.
And we're friends.
Okay.
Because there's too much work for
Okay.
all of us. So
Good.
a shout out to Golden Arrow Research. They're just like Footsteps researchers.
Right.
We're there every day together, and
But most people have never heard of this business before. you know.
there wasn't a business for Footsteps researchers until I did not know what my father did in World War II,
Okay.
and my brothers knew a little bit.
Perfect.
And so one day I was watching a documentary, and I was like, I wonder what unit my dad was in. And, was he, you don't know.
Right.
And so they gave me a little bit of information, and I just took off from there. And then
I told him you dove into the deep end of the pool.
I dove into the deep end without a life jacket at all. And there was no lifeguards. I was having to swim. And the first thing I did was, as I found stuff, and I was telling my brothers and my sister, they were like, oh, we didn't know that. We didn't know that. And I talked my 3 brothers into going with me to Europe to follow my dad's footsteps.
Oh my gosh.
This is before Footsteps researchers existed.
Right. This is your own story.
This is my own story.
Okay.
And we went in an RV.
Oh
And
wow.
our last name's Miller. Have you seen?
Oh goodness.
Oh my
We Are the
gosh.
Millers.
You
We
We Are the
Yeah.
Millers. Only it's a cross between Band of Brothers, We Are the Millers, and National Lampoon European Vacation.
And I have
You
to
didn't get
imagine
stuck in
and
the circle, did you?
Oh my gosh.
Hey, look, there's Big Ben.
I have to imagine an RV in European
but my brother
roads.
did
Right.
drive the wrong way down a ramp, and the thing went clack 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 on the front of the RV, and he couldn't back up, and the
gosh.
French fireman had to get us out. Oh gosh. And he did back into a 1,000-year-old wall.
Oh my gosh.
But other than that, it was great.
1,000-year-old
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
I will not say his name is Marshall.
Been
Miller.
through wars and all
We're
sorts
not
of
gonna
stuff.
point
and
any
Marshall Miller
fingers.
shows up.
There it goes.
But then after that, people are like, "Well, I want to do that.
yeah.
How do you do that?"
So is
and
this same RV being used for these trips?
No.
No.
It's
It
gotta
was
be
a
a
rental,
one-time
and yeah,
It's got a dent in it.
it has
now.
a dent in the back.
So you go out there to Europe, you have this experience, and you start telling everybody about it. I'm sure they saw you in social platforms or whatnot, but then you start getting some just people asking you to do it for them.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then I was like, okay, well, I started doing it for nothing, and then I was like, oh my God,
I
this
gotta
is a lot
charge
of
something,
work.
yeah.
And then I was like,
Oh my gosh.
Well-
how much do you charge? You know.
well, and I'm
Exactly.
like, okay. And then I went for it and decided to make a LLC with it, and
And then the other people started to contact like
So-
authors and
Kathryn.
authors and then
we do Finding Your Roots show. We do History Channel stuff.
Wow.
We've
Oh.
got clients from around the world. We do a lot of authors research for them. We just did the Marine. We're still doing the
Marine
Marine
Encyclopedia. in the Panama Canal. That was a big one.
Oh gosh, I did the Panama Canal for a year.
That was
Whoa.
huge, yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really spent a dime on marketing.
We
can't
can't.
keep up. We can't keep up.
Well, and that's great. I mean, that's a true testament to how thorough you guys are, though, because
'Cause you could-
you're
and that-
literally following people's footsteps. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
name says it all.
Yeah, and you can send a letter or request to the archive, and they're going to pull out whatever paper that they find. If we can't find something, and we know that there's a nugget or a kernel somewhere, we're going to find it. We're going to look
there's
for
other
it, and we're going to find
there's other
it.
alternatives
Right.
other than one file.
Yeah.
Right.
Because in the fire of '73, a lot of files were destroyed.
Oh.
A lot of them, and so there
So
are
there's
other
other
ways.
we could do. The morning reports are my favorite.
Yeah,
Oh, I
So
bet.
I just
What does
got-
the morning report consist of, though?
Well, every day
every
Yeah.
day.
in World War II, the company clerk had a report, and
Okay.
it's got
Every
the
day.
date, it's got the location, sometimes coordinates, and who went in and out that day or what
Who was
happened that
injured
day.
or
oh,
And it's all
wow.
on microfilm because the archives in their infinite wisdom destroyed the paper files, so now all we have is the microfilm, and it's
my gosh,
not always the greatest quality.
Not always.
Well, yeah, you're subject to whoever was making that copy.
I just got back Friday. I led a 14-day footsteps tour for the son of a 83rd Infantry Division, Company C, Eric Graham. He was there. He got wounded on December 12th, and I took them on the tour of every step of him arriving in France.
Did you find the
by
hospital?
coordinates. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Whoa, you found the hospital and
the hospital
everything.
where he went after he was wounded. We actually went to the house.
Right.
That was the objective of December 12th for the 1st Battalion.
So they were supposed to get to the house?
Battalion. Yeah.
Yeah, that was their landmark to get to.
And
Okay.
the lady was there, and she welcomed us in.
Oh, wow.
And she showed us we got to see the cellar where the soldiers were and everything. It was really amazing.
Whoa, that is so cool. But that's what makes your job so cool. I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
You
Oh,
just-
yeah, I
you
can't-
probably eat this up.
Oh,
This
yeah.
happens something happened like this almost every time.
It
Oh my
happens every day.
gosh!
Yeah.
I want to take over your job when you're done with this.
Sounds like she's looking for people to help out.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the very first coordinate was Brickville, France. So they arrived D-Day plus 18. That means June 23rd. This, the 83rd, his company arrived, and it's on the It's on the morning reports, and it says they landed Vierville and they marched 12 miles to Brickville. Okay, well,
Then
so there's a coordinate. So I have a coordinate that shows this field, and right across the field is this Marie, which
Right.
is the mayor's thing. And we went to the house next door, and there's this 93-year-old man who remembered the soldiers being in the field across from his house.
wow.
And all the tents they put up, and so we were in the correct spot. Wow.
Now, had I been with you, Myra, this would have been a video I would have
Right.
shared.
Right.
Because people love that stuff.
That
That's
is
fascinating.
awesome.
Oh, the 90
Wow.
and his wife were there, and
Oh,
they
my
let us
gosh.
come in the house, and they showed us a flare gun that they had
Found.
some had left.
Yeah.
I'm
and
sure.
He said General Bradley played bridge with his grandfather in
Shut
the
up.
kitchen.
What?
Shut up.
Oh, you see why this is so cool, man?
But it was like this for every day.
Yeah.
I showed them footsteps, and it was amazing. And
Man,
every day they
Seriously,
were like,
every tour I've been on, there's always some kind of major serendipitous thing that you're just like, this is not an accident.
Yeah.
This is just not an
And
accident.
it just almost seems so surreal.
well,
It is.
The funny thing is, we went with David Martin had a company 329th guy
Oh wow.
in the Hurricane Force on the same day, and so we met up.
Oh wow. You guys were in the Hurricane together.
It was another guy.
That's even better.
Yeah.
and we
You met another researcher out there doing
well,
the
yeah,
same thing.
but but we both had a 329th guy
That's
Oh.
And we work with
on the
David.
same day.
Yeah.
wild.
David does tours with
That's
us, so
impressive.
Unreal.
isn't that? That's I
And
could
we're
tell you
like,
a million stories.
what's the chances of us being in the Hurricane on the same day? Let's just join up together. And we went
Absolutely.
together to show both families.
Well, and now
then
you've
went
got-
out to dinner.
Well, now
Wow,
you've got
yeah.
two families that
Yeah.
know each other and can, bounce things off each other. But
Yeah.
now they're almost like family, I would
Yeah.
assume, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Going
was-
through something like that would be just
It was
tremendous.
so bizarre.
I can only
Sure.
imagine
It's-
that.
But
Dang
it's
it.
bizarre in such a good way,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Oh my, yeah.
Because watching your videos, just of your stuff that you do behind the scenes while you guys are doing something else, and you go out and tell these stories in France of, what hit me last time was the fact that they have people that are, for every American soldier, there's somebody that is almost like a curator for their plot.
Yeah,
Oh,
they have a
where they're
caretaker.
buried, a caretaker.
There's a waiting list to be a caretaker of a grave.
And that's what's even cooler about it, because I just don't think Americans really
It's mostly
understand.
in Margraten. Margraten
Yeah.
was the biggest cemetery that. It's called there's a book, The Faces of Margraten, and we've actually helped Sebastian Vonk. He came over from
Came to
the
us, yeah.
Netherlands to Missouri
Research.
to be research, and he couldn't finish his project because he had to fly back, and I just offered to help. So we volunteered to help the Faces of Margraten and the to do the African American search, because there's 172 African Americans buried in Margraten Cemetery that they didn't have pictures of their face.
So they wanted pictures of everybody that they could find.
Wow. So that's a big endeavor in itself. That's
Yeah, I mean, that's just
tremendous,
one
though.
little project that we offered to help
Well, I'm
with.
sure
Yeah.
this is something that there's no outline for this. There's no book on how to do this. Like, you're writing the book right now on how to follow people's with their research, but
Yeah.
you're probably finding more little tidbits along the way to just add to this that it makes it such a special experience for people, I'm sure. So it's worth every dime.
Well, and the really special part about it is we have local people.
Yeah.
So you're
Contacts.
not talking to an American. We're like Bob is one of the men we worked with in Belgium, and Bob is, he lives there. That's
Yeah.
his home. That's he every day he walks around and looks for battlefields
Well,
and tries to find
we have a
things.
team,
Yes.
and so when I have a tour, I
Yeah.
hook them up with Flo, and then we go down to here, and I've got my tour people on the ground, so
Right.
you get a customized experience.
Gosh.
And I'm
And
the
very
driver.
personal. Yeah.
Yeah. How many
So-
of these do you do a year? Before you actually go to France?
I've done
and-
2. I've got another one in October, and then I've got several for next year already asking.
Right. Because how long ago did you start Footsteps?
2018.
Right. Not very long ago. And then COVID, of course,
And then COVID,
happens.
but actually that really helped
Yeah.
because we couldn't do anything but documentaries but I have this huge database. So our partner in crime, Joey Van Meesen, lives in the Netherlands.
Snafu Docs.
Snafudocs.com. You got to go to that website and look at his videos because we
Do the research for.
yeah, he's an incredible documentary maker, and we help him, and he helps us.
He's
and,
is he the map expert, right? He's our one.
Yeah.
That,
Right. So
He's got
he
his
knows
masters.
it well because maps have changed probably a little bit since then. But but to just be able to follow a family and show them everything about it, how emotional does that get for everybody?
well, she cries every
every
time.
time.
Soft soul.
No, it's
I'm sure the
it's
stories
just-
are just wild.
They are.
at the end of the day, I'm like, so they're like, it doesn't get any better than this, and the next day, it doesn't get any better than this, and it's just like an overwhelming. The only way I can describe it, because I did it myself, is it changes you.
I bet.
I have seen where my father was in World War II. I've seen where he's walked across the valley, and I understand what he went through, and I can see the environment because it hasn't changed that much.
Right.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in rural France, in these
Right.
rural populations, the houses are still there.
Right. Right. Or the field where the
field, or
plane,
if
the
a house is
La
new,
Fosse.
you know,
Right.
you could tell it was
Yeah.
destroyed and.
Well,
you know.
and
Well,
what's-
even like when Victor kept his property, he
yeah.
he didn't touch that for how many
Or
years?
and I saw this gentleman with Snafu Docs, how he went to a small little itty bitty cemetery, but one of the pickets, the fence was still around it, and it was bent. And then there was also a bullet that was still in that because the people in France haven't gotten rid of those items to renovate,
Right.
Or the pipe that saved that family from getting hit by a tank round
Right.
that bounced off the road, hit the pipe. The pipe saved their lives. The round never went off, but had it gone off, those
Right.
people would
Well, you have to remember
passed away.
that they didn't have a whole lot of material, so they used the destroyed buildings materials to rebuild.
To be rebuilt. Yeah.
Right. Wow. So
Aachen did that quite a bit. They saved a lot of their buildings
and that's
walls.
amazing to me because I just feel like Americans wouldn't do that. I feel like we would tear
They
it
had
down,
to.
rebuild it, right?
Yeah,
So
they didn't have a choice.
Right, they didn't have a choice because they didn't have much left at the
Well,
time.
and the interesting is when the bombs fell, they fell down, and so the walls would fall. So they had a lot of walls, literally walls that they were able to save.
Mm.
I remember there's
And
one
work with-
city in Europe, you may know the city, where they took paintings from a gentleman that was an engineering student, and he had painted the city multiple times.
Right.
And they used his
As
to
a model.
recreate the buildings because that's all they didn't have architectural plans because
Yeah.
the buildings are so old, so they had to use this guy's
Oh,
Drawing.
wow.
specific
That's
paint.
awesome.
Yeah, the stuff
Right.
that he'd done. I was
Yeah,
like,
I'd seen that somewhere.
Yeah, but you see impact scars everywhere you go.
Right. And that's what's really interesting because people get to go see those scars and see how their family was related to that specific event or the Battle of the Bulge and things like
Right.
that, which I can only imagine going to. But so that leads into the rest of this conversation, which is REVEILLE. So for those that don't know what REVEILLE is, please explain what REVEILLE is first. Not just the
Well,
movie.
It says it's a Michael Ackerman film.
Good job, Michael.
Michael contacted me on Facebook Messenger, I think in 2017, maybe.
Okay.
No, I can't remember when it was. And he just recognized that I have done stuff in World War II, and he's like, well, I just finished film school, and I have this idea for a World War II movie, and I just want to know how to get started, how to make a
How do
movie.
I do it?
And I'm like, well, I've done documentaries. I've never made a movie before, but we'll figure it out. And he's like, really? And I'm like, well,
Really?
well, I actually did research, and I looked at all of his artwork, and I saw his script, and I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's do it.
Let's do this. You've done enough research that you should be able to come up with some people for
and
it.
so she was the executive producer.
So I'm like, okay, we're going to do a movie. And then it's just like anything else I do. It's just kind of like it depends on the people. And you pull a bunch of people together, and we made it happen. And it really did happen like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, called Kathryn up. It's like, guess what we're doing?
She's like, go find a cave.
No, we're doing a movie, and we need a
no,
well,
cave.
actually, they were going to do the movie in California.
Right.
But to do the movie in California, first of all, there's permits.
Oh, man.
Lots of permits.
We have
Lawyers.
I do a World War II movie, so you have to have guns.
Yeah.
They needed a cave. Have you seen a cave in
I
California?
don't think so.
I mean, actually, there's a lot.
So I talked. So at this point, I was like, I think we should do this. And I've been to Italy.
Yeah.
Right.
I have been to Venafro, Italy,
Right.
and I've been where
You've been to all these battle places.
and I know what it looks
Oh.
like, and it looks like limestone caves in Missouri. It really does. I'm not kidding you.
Interesting.
And you can't recreate that.
I mean,
in
we don't have
California.
all the.
No.
I mean, not without millions of
Well,
dollars.
Right. Not without a soundstage,
Okay, this
really,
was
yeah.
in November of 1943, so the leaves have fallen off.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get away with March in Missouri because the leaves haven't come back on yet.
Right.
And maybe if you don't zoom in on an oak tree.
Right. Right.
But it's very similar landscaping. It's rolling hills.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah, lots of rocks
and the
and-
limestone rock is there, and so I'm like, I think we should do this in Missouri. And he's like, well, we got to find a cave. Well, we had a picture of the cave in Venafro, Italy, that was kind of in this location that this story could have happened.
Okay. So.
And so we set out to look for a cave. Now, Missouri is called the Cave State.
yeah. So which
Yep.
one though?
Yep.
And I used to live in Springfield, and
Okay.
I lived in Springfield for 30 years.
Okay.
So I'm really from the
Yeah.
Ozarks,
Yeah, you are.
and
Which is the best part.
I was thinking. So so I'm like, Kathryn, we're going to be scouts. so we started,
Let's go drive.
We
It was
started
weeks.
scouting, and we had a couple of locations that we thought would work, and it wasn't the greatest, but it was okay.
Were they on private land or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and we had permission,
Good.
but we just kept looking because it just wasn't
Everything.
everything that we
Yeah.
needed. So I'm going to tell this story. This is funny.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the car, and it's getting to be dark, and we had gone.
We are
through all
driving
these
around the
states
backwoods
of
of Sparta.
Oh, so
Sparta.
Chadwick area.
We're trying to find this cave that we had heard about. Somebody told us about this cave, and it was almost dark, and we're driving, and we can't find this cave.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like,
Good luck.
I guess we're gonna have to give up. Well, Myra doesn't give up very easily.
Nope.
So I said, let's just go down this road. We go down this road, and we're like, hey, and then we see this house with us lights on, and so I tell Kathryn, you got to go.
Yeah.
You got to go knock on the door.
You did not. You're like, I'm not going
I was
in
the
there.
getaway.
It's late. It's almost dark. I'm not going to that.
Yeah.
I was the
You're-
driver.
you're
in Sparta.
I was
Right.
I
You're
was
the
the
getaway
getaway
driver.
driver.
Well,
Yeah.
she's the president.
She is.
And so this is
Do whatever.
Exactly.
you have to do what I say.
I do.
So she goes, I'm not scared. So she gets out of the car, she goes up to the door, and this is really funny. It was starting to get dark,
It was.
so there was a light inside the house, and the front door was a
glass.
glass,
Okay.
and I could see her go in.
Oh.
They invited her in,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm ready for the night.
yeah. Yeah. Well, she's not dead yet.
No.
The Psycho
Right.
movie
Right.
at
Yeah.
night,
Blood up on the glass. Yeah.
and I'm sitting in the car going,
She's not out there.
she just went inside the house. Oh my God.
She didn't invite me.
So anyway, you can tell. So
So I knock on the door, and the lovely lady says, "Come on in." And she had just come back from
Wow.
town because she was expecting a family member to come by. She wasn't supposed to be there.
Oh.
And so she thought I was, and I walk in, and I was like, "Hello," and she was like, "Well, hey," and she was just turned right around. I said, "This is going to sound strange. I'm scouting for a movie, and we'd really love to see your cave. Would you mind? And she was like, nope, let's go.
Whoa.
And so we hopped in the car, and we
No, we didn't hop
we
in the
walked.
car. We
It's
walked.
not- we had to
Nighttime
walk.
by
Yeah.
It
this
was getting
time.
dark, so we got flashlights
And we walked up
and
this
I
hill.
walk. I'm serious. We walk up this thing. We walk around the corner, and there's this entrance to this cave. And
Yeah.
I went, "Oh my gosh, that's the cave!"
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's-
I thought she was
It
going to pee her
looks-
pants.
It looks just like
It
what
was
it's
great.
supposed to.
Mhm.
Wow.
And it had some stuff around it,
Unreal.
but we can
Easy
fix
to
that.
take
Yeah,
down,
to
yeah.
remove it. But
So then we talked with her some more, and she said, well, you know what? I've got this building down here, and it's got some bathrooms, and you guys can have food down there, and that's where you can eat. And then I've got these
Wow.
other locations. So they literally did all of Italy in 10 acres.
Wow.
And it's the coolest thing when
So
I
you
see
guys-
it. I know where they were,
Yeah.
but
And you filmed the whole thing on this 10 acres.
on this one property, yeah.
And
no, it's
so-
not 10 acres.
I mean,
it's more than that.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure it probably was, but a 10-acre area of which you
Yeah.
needed,
Still not
right?
a 1,000-acre movie ranch.
No.
Just 10
And that's what
acres
you would
and-
expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't ask for any money or anything.
I know.
And I'm
and,
like,
and the guys
Oh, I
from
bet they
Hollywood are
just
like,
thought it
do you have
was
the
cool.
permit? And Myra's laughing. A permit.
We don't need a permit.
We have permission.
Exactly.
so anyway, we did give them a thank you donation
Good.
at the end.
Good.
But they were so kind. We don't want to give away the location.
Well, how
Right.
cool for them, though, to have a
But-
movie filmed on their
Oh,
property,
yeah.
too. With
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
cave,
the
so-
nicest people in the
Oh,
whole
gosh.
entire world. And
John Delatorre
if we
needs to go
needed
down there.
anything, oh yeah. And
So
then we
gracious.
had like 60 people all over their land and
Tromping around.
tromping around. And there was somebody,
Weapons and guns.
we got
and,
stuck in the
Gunshots.
mud.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came and pulled us out.
A couple
when
times.
Stupid people got
They are good people, then. How long did you have to film on their property?
12 days.
12 days is it
That's
to
not
film
bad.
the entire movie.
It's not bad.
Well, he knew what he was doing then. This gentleman, Michael, knew what he was
Yes,
doing
he did.
then, obviously.
We had a script and we flew the Hollywood actors in.
The
that's-
Hollywood
So we
Real
thought
Hollywood actors. You didn't
Oh,
call
yeah.
me, Kathryn? What the hell, man?
So
You know,
this
you
was
were-
like
you
Tom
were next on the
Cruise
list.
and-
You didn't need a chubby guy for the military.
that no,
But they're, yeah.
they cast. See, they were going to film in California, so they cast in California.
Right.
And they had all these guys, do the casting and through there, and they signed on. And then that's when we switched, and we're like, "Hello, guys.
Guess
I-
what?
Welcome to
We're
Missouri.
gonna need to fly you to Missouri instead." And so we rented a mansion and put
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah,
all
makes sense.
together in a house and made Kathryn cook.
I remember
I
you
said,
talking
"Kathryn,
about
guess
that.
what you're doing?"
You're the chef now. But I also heard that you guys had German actors and then you had the American actors and they were all in the same house but they were separated from each other so
had
they
separate
could kind of
sleeping
stay in
areas.
character type
Well,
thing.
they were in the
or-
same area, but we had army bunks,
army cots.
Oh.
army cots.
Oh.
They had
Okay.
to sleep on army cots.
Oh, real experience here.
Yeah. Yeah. They
I
also
mean,
had
it
sleeping- They
wasn't-
had sleeping bags.
It wasn't,
I mean, it
as bad
wasn't
as the World War II guys
well,
had it.
Oh,
But,
it's not
sure,
5-star
but-
accommodations by
Right.
any stretch.
It wasn't easy though.
but we put this pod had this group of that were in their squad, and then
Right.
this squad was over here, and this squad was here. But
Okay.
How
So
many,
let's talk
how many actors did you have?
Yeah.
How many actors did you have?
23,
Wow. Okay.
and
It
then we
was
had
like
extras
yeah,
on top
right.
of
So
that.
60 people, I think, altogether.
Well, we had the
That's
cast and the
crazy.
crew, and then Ozarks
chef.
Technical College. We brought
Yeah,
some
OTC
students
came
in to
out.
help us
Nice.
with being production assistants.
Okay.
Yeah, they were
so
great.
helping
They
set up
got
sets.
they
and stuff.
got some school credit,
That's awesome.
I hope
and
so.
we got some help.
We need
Yes.
to talk to those kids though, because
Yeah.
something we have going on. But so let's talk about the story itself. Super cool story about the location in itself. So, what regiment are we talking? What was the scene? What was the area? What were they doing basically? I
Well,
mean,
it
so
was
who were
the
these people?
15th Infantry Regiment.
Okay.
In November of 1943, they had a skirmish with some of the German air soldiers, and one of this. Well, let's go back to the first group that got hit by the skirmish. The
Okay.
Germans got them,
Okay.
and so they had
They
them
had to
as
go in and
prisoners.
get them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So then this other group ran across these and attacked them.
Okay.
But I can't tell too much of the movie.
No.
But anyway,
but that's the basics of it.
Yeah.
right. It was like,
Sounds like some
two
action.
squads of Germans and two squads of Americans. And at the first, it looks like the Germans were going to take over the Americans, and then we came through. But at the end, nobody really wins.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's war.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we explored that just a little itty bitty bit last time you were here about the drama of war, the emotion of war, things like that. So,
Well, there's a moral dilemma.
Yes.
I mean, there's a Geneva Convention, and you have to follow the rules of war. And what do you do when you're off by yourselves and you're hiding in a cave with some wounded Germans? And how do you act? And how do you behave? And what do you do?
And there's shelling all around you. And you can't go anywhere.
and you hate each other.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean,
Enemies.
think about it.
Man.
You're stuck, and then you have all these different personalities thrown together in this cave, and they're in like somebody's like, oh, why don't we just shoot them?
Right.
Why don't well, no, we can't. Is arguing back and
a lot
forth.
of struggles.
A lot of struggles
Mentally. And then there was also skirmishes too, because you've got to end this somehow. You've got to start it somehow. A lot of action went into this. So is it an action movie, or is this more of a dramatic film? I mean, is it?
It's a drama action.
Okay.
We call it a historical fiction.
Right.
So it's not a documentary at all. It's just more.
It's a movie.
Definitely.
It's a
But you guys
fictionalized-
also, this is with your footsteps researchers. You knew who each one of these guys were. You knew where they came from.
Right.
You probably had a pretty good leg up on a lot of Hollywood movies that wouldn't have done some of that research.
Well,
They would
Michael
just
actually
make it
talked
up,
to a couple of the families
Okay.
of a couple of the American soldiers that were being portrayed.
Wow.
And they had photos in a lot of cases of the actual soldiers.
Laddie's
So
character died in World War II.
Wow.
he didn't make it home.
No, he didn't make it, and but that's where I think we're a little bit different. The other thing is we had an excellent armorer named Mike Birch. We had weapons,
Right.
and this is right around the time of the Rust incident.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm
Oh,
sure they were all on edge.
wow.
Oh,
Extra
yeah.
edge.
We chose to use live ammunition. We were on a farm. But it was the safest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He
Yeah.
was excellent.
He was in
and
control.
these actors had never held a rifle before, and we had the real. The thing is, it was so authentic. Everything we had, from the uniforms to the gun, everything was real.
Right.
We didn't
Right.
have anything.
Well, you had to research where to get all of this stuff
that's
too.
where some of our guys came in, like Mike and Brian and Sam. They were our the costume designers.
Okay.
I mean,
It
they had a cobbler come to put the little studs on the German
Wow.
shoes. So it was
So
they
it
would
matched
sound.
them.
So it would sound like German shoes.
Wow.
Because they're different.
Unreal. But you've got to talk, every little piece has to be right on track. Flags have to be the right
It
way
was.
on uniforms
And they were.
all of that.
Yeah.
And then the rifles themselves have to be era pieces and make sure they actually work, which
Yes.
is hard to do in itself. So how did you get away with using live ammunition? I mean, is that something that you have to ask
This is
permission
Missouri.
for?
This is
We got permission.
we got permission
Yeah.
from the landowner,
Yeah.
and because of Missouri
Right.
state
We were
laws,
out in a field. I mean, it was literally.
True.
there is nobody nearby. And
Right.
The landowners gave us permission.
I was gonna say, how did you use the live ammunition? Because you're not shooting each other with live ammunition.
That's kind of where I was
You're
headed.
just making
yeah.
sounds.
Well, there would be images of them firing their weapons, not
Right.
necessarily at one another, but the sound of the gunfire
Okay,
is
so
so
if we're in the
distinct.
same scene,
I'm with you now.
we're shooting
Yeah.
her react. So she acts and
Yeah.
Right.
falls down dead.
Right.
There's no.
But the
and
gun
then-
is not going off at
No,
that
no,
time,
no,
right?
no,
yeah.
no.
Stupid
Right,
me.
right.
Yeah. The magic of the movies. But this is just so interesting to me that you were able to do all this just right here in the Ozarks. So you probably saved a ton of money too. But how long did it take you guys to research just the characters before going out and filming? I mean, how long did that take to come to fruition?
It was a
learn
couple
the
years
stories?
just to get all the uniforms together. I know they were
You're wrong.
Uh-oh.
for the uniforms.
No,
I thought
not
he
2
was-
years. It was only a few months.
Oh wow.
A few months.
I stand corrected.
As far as from the time that he reached out to you to actually filming this, what kind of
A
time
year.
frame?
Wow.
That's faster
Little
than I
over
thought it would
little
be.
over a year.
Really quick.
Much faster.
It was really fast.
Okay.
And like I said,
And that's because you filmed in Missouri.
Yeah.
That's right.
If we didn't have to. We did have one miner on the set. We had all the documentation for that because you have to have permits and
Yeah.
things.
The
for
parent
everything.
had to
You
be
had all the
there.
Parent
right.
had
You
to
had
be
all the
there.
right people there.
Had to have a
Yeah.
permit for that. of
Just
all
the fact
things.
that an armor on set. I mean,
We had an
that's a
armorer
huge
on
deal right
set.
there. Make sure
We
it's
had
all
actually
safe.
three. We had the main armorer, and then he had two assistants.
Yeah.
And professional
Yeah.
all the way.
The whole production sounds very, very
And,
professional. Very
Absolutely.
well done.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the really interesting things too is one of the German soldiers was the miner, and his father had to come with him, and he lost family members in the Holocaust. So they were actually Jewish, and so
He was playing a German.
and he was playing a German, and he had to learn German. So it was.
Oh my god!
And they talked about that quite a bit, about why he felt like he needed to do it, why the young man felt like he needed to do it.
And because it's billed as an anti-war movie, because we don't glorify
Good.
the winner. No, I mean,
there is no winner.
There is no winner at the end. It's just like war sucks, basically. And but we think it's a good movie.
Yeah,
I cried.
She cried when she watched.
I can't wait. So,
well, on a personal note, as the caterer, I would see these guys. I'd see them every morning. I'd see them after the shoot, and then when I watched the movie, they were not the boys that I had fed.
Right.
And that was incredibly powerful for me.
Right.
Because I didn't recognize them.
I do have to give a little shout out to Kathryn Vicat. And
that's right. Tell your friends.
We had Avian and Tim and Dean. We're all helping feed the 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
Right.
It was
plus snacks probably.
Well, plus snacks, and lunch was on set.
Oh wow!
So I had to take lunch.
But we had a bunch of stuff donated because we're in the Ozarks. You can do that.
People gave us stuff, and Casey's was really great, and Congo was really great.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow.
And we had. They were well fed, and I was
craft services.
I was
is not
telling
a joke.
Mike,
not on a movie site.
The armor that I was coming down here today, and he's like, "Tell Kathryn thanks," and she did such a great job with the food because. Think about how many Californians we had that were vegetarians or vegans or gluten-free.
Yeah. There were 7. That had special diets. So
you can probably recite the diets too.
I absolutely could. I can tell you who they belong to.
And there was this one guy. Great. He was working out, and he didn't want to eat meat, and he wanted to. And they were making biscuits and gravy one morning, and he's like, do I get biscuits and gravy? Because he's a vegan. And we're like, absolutely. Yeah. And they made him biscuits and gravy vegan style.
What does vegan biscuits and gravy consist of?
Oh, well, we used a meat substitute.
Okay, so it still had flavor.
But you had to make sure that, the dairy, there was no dairy. We just kind of found a ways around everything and made sure everybody ate the same thing.
Wow. So we were told that all the actors on the set said they had never experienced food like we did.
Huh. Welcome to Missouri, boys.
That's right. Well, the B29, they were so great. They chipped in a night. They gave me a night off.
That cafe.
I was going to ask
Ozarks.
you about that.
Cafe.
Yeah.
They hosted all of us. They were
they
amazing.
fed us the whole entire cast.
Everybody
that night.
They let us hang out. They brought in some veterans.
So please, kudos to
yes,
B29
absolutely.
Cafe.
Lisa, you are the rock.
Yes, and they are very good about their history that they keep in that building too, in that restaurant. Just littered with it all over the walls. It's super awesome.
They'd have to with that kind of name.
Yeah.
But, we had a couple of World War II veterans come that night, and they were just so wonderful. And we're looking around and looking at all this stuff.
Yeah, and all the guys were in uniform because they just come from set.
Oh,
so
and the Country Times headliner, Leah, the editor.
She came out.
She's awesome. She came and
she did like a whole day, didn't she?
Yeah, and did a feature story on us. And
wow.
Yeah.
For which publication was that?
The Ozarks Country Times headliner.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'm not sure.
Christian County
headliner.
Yeah.
Did a special on you guys. Yes. I didn't know that. When did you find
Leah
that?
Greenwood. She's awesome. She came to the house and she was all excited.
She did. She had dinner with us, and she talked to all. I called them the boys.
Yeah,
because they were my boys. But
I mean, that's a big deal. You don't really get a lot of feature films made around here.
What was her name again?
And especially to that
Leah
level
Greenwood
of expertise.
And some of these are union actors. So these are not guys they got off the street. It was guys who know their craft.
These guys that have been in other things before, but was this like their big?
No, I mean, they've all been in some big things, especially the leads. Not so much the smaller characters, but we had about 7 leads. There were 4 or 5 American soldier leads, and then the 3 German, about 5, because Bart and Chris were a major character.
Yeah.
But Kevin was the lead.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to put the trailer on this at some point before or after, because the trailer is amazing in itself. And I know that's not even like after it was finished, basically, but it's such a good trailer, and it's so emotional just watching the trailer that it's so.
Did you see why I cried?
Yeah, exactly. And she doesn't cry easily, I don't think.
I've got a 20-second that's going to go out this week.
Very cool.
20-second spot.
Nice.
So when is this going to be available to the masses?
August 4th. It's being released through Amazon at first. and it's going worldwide November 3rd.
Okay, so
So it's domestic release on Amazon first.
And on a side note, it's gotten approval from the European. Was it not the war? But they said that it was war relevant,
Yeah.
right.
and so it was educationally relevant to their mission and what the European union.
Perspective was. Yeah,
European Union.
Yeah.
They gave it approval because it was inappropriate and educational.
Well, and I mean, there's not a lot of war flicks that are out there that are really, in my mind, not very recently put out, I guess. I mean, the biggest one I can think of is Saving Private Ryan. How long ago was that, right?
Yeah.
A long time.
But it obviously has a cool story. So I know this probably has a really tremendous story because it takes a lot of research to do what you guys are doing. But, on a personal level, thank you guys for doing this for me. This is huge for me and my family. But I would hope that through this, maybe you guys get a few more people that want to dive into this as well with their families.
Well, I say watch the movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a historical fiction. It's what we and Michael wrote the script about to be. He's an artist, and so there's a little bit of freedom there in telling the story.
But the facts
But
are facts.
Yeah.
I tell you what, from what I know and from all the research we've done, these guys didn't have a picnic.
No.
Right.
It was not fun.
And it all happened
so-
in one cave in one area.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Of Italy, right?
Yep.
That's insane to me. Ladies, you all are awesome. I'm not even sure how long we've gone on this, but how long are we on right now?
50.
Okay.
Is that good? Bad?
That's great. No,
Awesome.
I'm just saying
It's
it goes
about right
by
on
so
time.
fast.
Oh, nice.
That's about as far as we usually go, is 50,
Oh,
55
very
minutes,
cool.
but it goes so fast that, I just love these stories, and we aren't going to talk about the screening that might happen because it's not really a public thing, but we get to use Springfield Studio One, which is even better because this is
I'm
where
excited.
we are. This is our home base. But, stay tuned for everything that they have coming out with REVEILLE. Are you guys going to be doing anything with the community once this comes out or anything like that?
I hope. I just do need to say that Kathryn and I were two of the only females in this whole
We were
entire
the-
operation.
That's right. That's right. And everyone managed to live. So you're welcome.
They were well fed.
We're very well fed.
We
Yeah.
were
Even the
called.
vegans.
We were called a few names a few times. I started with a B,
Right.
because we had to
Crack
reel
the
them
whip.
in.
I'm
Come on,
telling you what.
boys! You
Get
gotta
out of my
follow-
kitchen.
You got to follow the rules.
right.
Get in the van now.
Get in the van.
We're leaving.
We're going to B28. Get in the van.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being here. Myra
you.
Miller and Kathryn Vicat. Thank you guys so much for even doing this movie in the Ozarks.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Us having this and then you guys having what you have coming out is so cool that we could all come together in this one moment to have something so cool happen that people in the Ozarks would not have known about otherwise, I don't think, really. But it is a full feature-length film that everybody, let's look at August 4th, which is right around the corner.
Yes, it is.
It's a standard rental on Amazon.
Yep.
Standard rental on Amazon, thank God. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, you know what that means. You get a bigger discount or get it for free, hopefully. But we hope that this blows up on you guys and becomes some type of classic for everybody. But
I just hope so for the actors.
yes,
I mean,
and the
because,
families too.
Yeah.
It's really important for them. They were a bunch of great people.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody
They worked
was
so
great.
hard.
They worked so hard on this. So yes.
Well, yeah. Well, and the families that were involved in the beginning of it from the war standpoint, it's great that they finally get someone to tell the story of their family member as well.
Yep.
And to have it historically as accurate as possible, even still be a Hollywood movie, I think is hugely important because you just can't film a documentary really about it,
No.
But we're very happy that you guys did it, and you guys did it very easily, it sounds like. I mean,
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Sure it was.
It
It was
sounds
simple.
easy.
It was a
but,
cakewalk.
but it's super cool that you had such cool people that were
really
surrounding you
did.
with it.
Really
you
did.
know,
And
finding
it-
the property in the cave.
Michael Ackerman, he needs the kudos because it was his idea, his
was.
story, his script,
His vision.
and we just helped make it happen.
Hey, get him in the studio sometime. How about that?
We should totally do that.
Oh,
we would
he,
love that.
He lives in Idaho.
Well, hell, hey,
A little outside the Ozarks.
we've done a lot of stuff over the phone too with Jack and Jaw or
That's true.
Jeff and Jaw that do Sato 48 and all that. They live
yeah.
in Hawaii.
Well, he's been
so.
to Springfield twice.
Jack and Jill follow us.
I brought
Yeah.
Michael twice to the. No, he came
Yeah.
2 or 3 times. I can't remember.
Okay,
But he's been here.
good.
and So
He's
Nice.
in Idaho. He's
Like,
isolated.
yes, he is. He is.
Well,
But, yeah.
Missouri's pretty isolated too, so
It
tell
is.
him he can
It
come
is.
visit. It's just a little more humid.
Just a smidge.
the funny story is the flight got delayed out of. So I had to shuttle through Fisk
limousine.
Yeah.
to St. Louis to get the Hollywood guys back to California.
Oh, wow.
At the last minute
Because
because
the flights were canceled.
A flight got canceled.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's
Right.
so. You guys are magic makers. First of
We
all,
are.
We are.
And I'm just saying, I'm super excited because we're getting ready to do the next Ryland story.
Nyland.
Nyland,
What's
excuse me.
Nyland?
The Nyland, the family based on Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, let's talk about that real quick before we end. I'm sorry, I should have remembered that. I didn't write it down. And see, that's my
Okay,
fault.
this is our friend Joey Van Meesen, snafudocs.com.
Yes.
He's putting this together. We're doing the research for
Okay.
him, and it's going to be a documentary in his next one.
So this is about Saving Private Ryan, which we just mentioned.
No, it's
Okay.
about the Nyland brothers.
Nyland brothers.
And what happened is Saving Private loosely told this story, but we're telling the documentary version of the Nyland brothers and what happened and the real guys.
So the Nyland brothers is what Saving Private Ryan is based on. Am I right?
Loosely.
They're
Yeah.
looking
Loosely.
for them.
There were
type-
four.
you
There were
say
four
loosely.
brothers. There was one left.
right,
Loosely.
and they had to go
Okay.
find him.
that was
Exactly.
a Hollywood story.
Right,
Like, so going to find him was a Hollywood story.
right. But the story itself is there.
Yes, the
Yeah.
whole story of going and finding him
him
like Tom Hanks. No.
Yeah,
No.
it didn't
Right.
happen. Okay.
No.
But turned into an epic movie.
Right.
But the story itself is what you guys are going to be telling
Yes,
soon.
it's
Right.
the real story.
The true story of,
I
True
love
story.
this.
of the Nyland family.
First of all, how can we be involved? But number two, is this something that you guys or is this something you're just doing the research on, and this is going to help
This
him
is
film?
Joey's doing the producing. It's snafudocs.com documentary.
Okay.
And because he lives in the Netherlands and we're here,
Yeah.
we're getting all the information for him, and he's producing the documentary.
Unreal.
That's
well,
cool.
keep us posted on when that
But-
comes out.
Footsteps Researchers is the sponsor for
That's right.
for it.
There you go. Well, thank you, ladies, again. These are huge things you're talking about here, and this is
Who would have thought
so
a couple
awesome.
of beautiful women
Yeah.
can do World War II stuff?
Yeah,
It can happen.
You guys are hardcore. I mean, you've got camo pants on. You're
I am
legit.
decked out, completely ready for my army experience.
And it's just because my dad was in World War II and I didn't know what he did. So there you
and
go.
I told you, it's that vacuum.
Gosh.
You know,
well, I
we
mean, I don't know how many times I went to my grandparents' house, and my grandpa didn't talk about war.
Right.
You know, he really didn't talk about much of anything after war, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but the guy was amazing. Built a house with his own, two hands. Still had all the tools in the tool shed that he used, and I still have a lot of those tools myself. But I never got a connection to my grandpa. But I was always super fascinated with the thought of the stories I could have heard, right? But most of those guys don't talk about this stuff when they
No,
come back
because
from
they're
war.
humble and they did some. They did.
They just did
They
their
did
job.
it because that was their service to
Exactly.
this United
was- yeah.
States of America, right? And I want to feel like I hope this spurs some type of thought for the younger generations that could see this, that this is entirely possible to happen again.
Yeah.
And at some point, if we do all get called for something like this, they're going to have to experience it again, right? We hope it doesn't happen, but it's a duty to your country, basically, at that point. So I hope we get a little more patriotism out of something like this. We get lost in our day-to-day activities and YouTube and TikToks and everything else that we don't realize that these things have happened, and it wasn't very long ago. To keep these stories available and churning out is super important to everybody. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for being super awesome, ladies.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, everybody else, keep exploring the Ozarks. Thanks again for listening to Exploring the Ozarks. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our social media channels to help us keep exploring the stories of the Ozarks. If you're looking for more ways to support our show, we have sponsorships for businesses and Patreon for individual supporters. Check the links in the description for more details. Thanks for your support, and keep exploring the Ozarks.